everyone. Welcome to Keeping It Real. I'm Nikki Shelton, and I'm here with Carrie Selby. How are you doing today, Carrie?
I'm doing good. You look so bronzed and beautiful.
Well, you know what? It's all from Washington because I haven't hardly been out in the sun here since I've gotten here. So
Well,
need
we've
to go
had
for
some
a
good
boat ride.
weather.
Hint, hint to my boat riding friends. Let's do this.
Nice.
So, I've been having a lot of discussion with like friends that are my age who've got kids that are graduating or maybe that graduated a couple years ago. And, one of the topics that usually is brought up to me is how are kids in this day and age supposed to buy a new home or a home? Not even a new home, but a home. Like, it's just like there's such a big gap. I mean, you got your down payment, you got your closing costs, you got to pay your buyer broker fees. How is a person supposed to do that? So this has been kind of a question. And, I've got kids. I've got 6 kids, you guys. So, that's definitely been a topic of conversation and how to do that. And so we're going to kind of dive today into that topic. Because a lot of people think it's absolutely impossible. And what they don't understand is there's a lot of programs out there that are really helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So it's closer than you think, right, Carrie?
It is. Everything's doable. You just need to have a plan.
Right. Okay. And I'm hoping I can do this because the screen's a lot smaller than I'm used to. So I'm hoping I can do this. And that's not doing it. Okay. Okay. Let's try again. Here we go. Okay. So, it's not even young people though. I mean, it's people who are maybe middle-aged who've never purchased a home before. It's military people. I mean, I've got a kid going into the Marines here, definitely for sure now, you guys. So, but it's, a lot of, there's a lot of different people on all different areas and stuff like that who are looking at homes. So one of the things that I know, let's see here, I don't want to jump ahead here though, but but a lot of them do. They feel like it's really, really out of reach. So we're going to go ahead and kind of jump right in and see what it is. Am I missing anything here? Because my eyes are so bad today, I can't see anything.
No, that's okay. It just talks about the fact that we have some solutions for you. So let's go over some ways that we can break things down and teach you how it's possible.
Okay. So the first one I know about is the down payment assistance program. So in Washington State, they have the Washington Housing Authority has what's called down payment assistance program. And I actually know how this one works. So what it is it's like a second kind of lien against your house. They give you a loan for your down payment. So essentially you can walk in with no down payment. Is that right?
Yes. It's actually a grant, but they consider it a lien against your property. And we will just use the terminology that it's a silent second on your home because you will not pay anything on it until the house is either paid off or refinanced. And there's 0% interest on the money that is lent to you.
Or sold, right?
Correct. Yes. When you either sell or refi.
Right. So what that means is that it is essentially a grant that you get from the state and it will help you cover. And that's like a lot of times it's 3.5%. So, that's a huge chunk. And so, then you're only really looking at closing costs, right?
Yeah. So, and they actually go up to 5%. Just generally speaking, the rates will be higher if you need to borrow up to 5%.
Okay. But at least it's a way to get your foot in the door. And a lot of things is, it's just getting that foot in the door. It's just getting it down. Because once you start your payments, it's like, okay, I know I got to pay this every month. And most people are really good about making their payments. And it's like, this is what we're going to do. And they're ready for it. But it's just that initial, like, I don't have that much money. It can be a lot. If you're looking at like what, a $400,000 or $500,000, I'm just going to use 500 because it's easy math, right? So what, $15,000, let's say for your down payment, $15,000 for your closing costs. These are high, a little bit high on estimates, whatever your buyer broker fees, approximately about, the same-ish kind of area-ish. They're all different. But you're looking at like, it could be up to $45,000 for those costs. So having something that would come in and take that burden off of you immediately, that is huge. Having like a big chunk of that, gone. And it's just, you have to come up with closing costs and then your buyer broker fees. And with closing costs and buyer broker fees on the real estate standing side, you actually have, a lot of especially like with the new, like with starter homes and like, beginning homes and stuff like that, at least the conversations I have with my sellers is, when you bought your house as a starter home, I mean, you're moving up to a new home or whatever, but when you bought that house, you were probably in the same person or same situation that this buyer was. You don't have all this funding sitting here. So they're probably going to offer you a little bit more. It gets a little tricky sometimes, but offer you a little bit more to help even compensate some of those costs. So maybe you might have to walk into $15,000. So from 45 to $15,000, let's say, that's a pretty big, I mean, that's a pretty big drop where maybe now it's realistic. So now you just save up an extra $1,000 for a month and a half, or a year and a half and stuff like that. And then you have that money that you can put aside, next year and say, okay, I'm ready to do this. Exactly. So I don't think people realize you can get in that low. And that's just like with an FHA loan or conventional kind of loan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So am I forgetting anything there?
I just wanted to clarify a little bit that what you're talking about is a seller credit. So often you can offer a little bit more on the house where they can give you a credit. So it's not going to affect the proceeds that the seller gets, but it's going to help you with your closing costs. The only thing we worry about or might have a concern about is whether or not the house will appraise at that price. So if we all think that it will appraise, everything's good.
Right. And, I mean, right now too, with the way that with the house prices and stuff like that, I mean, a lot of people are like a lot of the sellers are starting to understand, hey, it's a buyer's market. So I'm not going to get that top dollar that I used to be. So they are going to bring it down. But like I said, there's that little caveat there as far as, yes, you do have to have it appraised. But again, the buyer and the seller can work on that and hopefully it can be worked out. But a lot of times you can get that concession from the seller, which would definitely help offset some of those costs. And a lot of times they're kind of expecting that, especially if you've got a really good listing broker who's going to sit down and say, when you bought your house, they're going to ask for that. So just kind of keep that in mind. And on the other side of it, like Carrie was saying earlier, when you go to sell it or refinance it or whatever, that's when that grant will come into play where that needs to be paid back off. But at least it's a great way to get your foot in the door. And if you're earning appreciation on your home, that's a great way to kind of get your foot in the door and be able to have that for a while.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else that we need to talk about there?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, good. Because I can't see. So that's okay. We're just going to go with this. Okay. VA, I'm going to let you take this one. This one is super cool. And this is for our military personnel. So I'm going to let Carrie take this.
And that's a thing that people don't realize is that VA loans have no down payment needed at all. You're just going to be including the closing costs, and even closing costs are capped at a certain amount. There's a threshold where they cannot exceed a certain amount of or a certain percentage. So it's available to all active duty members once they've served for 24 months consecutively.
That sounds much better.
Not 240. That would be way too long.
240 would be a long time.
2 years. We want to make sure that you're serving for 2 years consecutively. And some surviving spouses can also qualify for that benefit as well. Usually the interest rates are much better on there. And unlike other mortgages, it doesn't matter how much you put down at the front. There's no mortgage insurance. There's a guarantee from the Veterans the VA, Veterans Affairs. They guarantee the servicer that if you were to default on the loan, they would step in and help. So that's a huge advantage because it's a fee that can be also financed into the loan, 2.3% of the loan amount, your first time use, or 2.15, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And then after it's used consecutively, it goes up to 3.2%.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so military. So again, you're pretty much can walk in with zero down, right? So that helps. And then you're looking at, again, and then again, those buyer closing costs and the concessions as far as like, closing costs and stuff that the seller may or may not give. I mean, it's not always for sure given. I mean, there's some that are, some sellers are just not going to do it. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them understand, that most of the buyers coming into that particular, like the first time home buyer market, they're going to need some assistance with that. And that usually is kind of negotiated with the purchase price, but it has to make sure the purchase price works for the appraisal, like Carrie was talking about earlier.
And one thing I want to point out, VA loans are not scary. A lot of sellers and listing agents shy away from VA loans. They think it's this really complex loan. It's really not. It's just as good as any other loan. and the appraisal time, they might be a little bit more nitpicky because they want to make sure that the veteran is moving into a home that's not going to be a lemon. They want to make sure the window seals are good. So, don't be afraid of a VA loan.
Right. And like the lead-based paint that we talked about before, making sure you've got smoke alarms and that kind of stuff. It's to make sure that the people are safe that are buying the home, which we would want them to be because, well, we want everyone to be safe when they buy their home. So,
yeah.
But specifically our military personnel. Okay. All right. So help for the first-time home buyers. And, even if you don't get the grant, 3% down, yeah, you might have to save up maybe 2 years.
3.5%.
I thought it was, but it said 3 on there. So, okay. Thanks, Carrie.
I was 0.5 when I was doing the slideshow.
Oh, nope, it's all good. 3.5% is what the FHA loan is. I knew that too. I was just like, 3%, maybe it changed. Okay, so 3.5 for FHA. So that is, it's a lot when you add it all together. But maybe you can get a gift from a family member. That's always a possibility. There's things that you can do. I know, like when you gift, like when a person gifts like their kid like money or something like that, I believe it's non-taxable with taxes, right? You can gift like up to a certain amount, which I think is almost.
I'm not sure about that. I would have to consult a tax specialist, but it's if you do.
Yeah, I think I asked ChatGPT, like, how much could I give my kids like a year without being like taxed on it? I think it was like, I don't know, I'm thinking like 15, 16, 18, something like that. But double check that. I don't do taxes. I got an accountant for that. But, but you can do stuff like that where it would be, I don't know how to apply, like if that can count towards those rules. I know you have to have a paper trail as far as that's concerned, but as long as you've got that, it usually works, right?
Yeah. And our best advice is to just have your gift person, the person who's going to be gifting the funds, just wire the funds to escrow. It creates a lot less of a paper trail because we're not having to account for money being deposited into your account from another account with bank statements, all this other stuff. It's much, much easier for them just to wire the money directly in. That way we're not following a whole trail.
Okay, perfect. And let's talk about the USDA loans. So this is kind of cool too, because a lot of people think, oh, that's like a farm loan and I've got to live out in the middle of the country, and I can't live out in the middle of the country because I don't have a car and I really need city, transportation, or I got to leave at least outside where I can jump on a bus to get into the city. Kitsap County, we've got a lot of unincorporated areas or county areas that aren't part of a city. And a lot of those are even counted. You just kind of have to really look at the eligibility map for the USDA loans and stuff like that to make sure that your area that you're looking at is eligible for it. But, a lot of people think, oh, it's way out in the middle of nowhere and I don't want that. And that's not always necessarily the case. So that's another really good one. You want to tell me some more about that one as far as how the loan works?
Yeah, it is mostly rural areas that it's in. And like you said, you'd be surprised the areas that are also covered in that. The thing with this also is there is no mortgage insurance. They have a guarantee very similar to the VA loan, which can also be financed as well. One thing, they are a little bit more tight on the debt to income ratios, and the income qualifications for USDA are a little bit different too. So just make sure you speak to a professional lender that can guide you the best in that situation.
Okay. And then down payment assistance, we just talked about that. We spent a little bit of time talking about that. And I think that one's, it's overlooked a lot. And I think a lot of people kind of don't do that. In order to do that, though, you do have to take a class, a first-time home buyers class. You can use whatever realtor, whatever lender you want. It was my understanding still, right? I don't think that's changed. But you do have to take that first-time home buyers class. They used to have them online. I think they probably still did, because if they didn't, that would be really kind of silly in my opinion, because the COVID thing happened and you had to do it in person before, and then they did it online. I'm rambling, I know, but that was some of the reasons why. But hopefully they kept that online version going, because I thought that was helpful too.
They have. Yep. Okay. And all if you pay, that one's free. But if you go outside the commission, there's an eHome America website that is $50 a person to do the class.
Okay. Perfect. And a lot of local real estate people, professionals, and mortgage lenders will get together and do that. I did them. I don't like talking in front of a big group like that. I can do this, but I don't like to do that. So I don't do those. I I've been actually qualified to do them, but I don't do them. But anyway, but I can help. But definitely do a class. I would say go check it out. Okay, and then how do we start? What should we do? If I'm
You want to check your credit,
I'm a
make sure
parent, I've got
good.
a kid, what should I do? I know the first thing I would do. I would go have him talk to Carrie. And I've done that before. I say, go talk to Carrie and see where everything's at and what you need to work on and what you need to do. Find out if you need to work on your credit first. Find out if you need, like, how much you really need to save up for. Find out if you're going to qualify, where you can look at, kind of start having those discussions and seeing what you can do. So that would be my first step. Talk to a real estate professional, myself. That would be me. Talk to me, ask me like, hey, I'm looking I can kind of maybe use this USDA one. Let's talk about what's that look like. You talked to Carrie about it. She said, your areas you're looking at, maybe that might work. So, definitely reach out to us because that way we can help.
Definitely.
Anything else?
That I think it's great just to sit down and get information from someone, quite honestly, because you just don't know what you don't know. So it's important to know how much you need to save, what you're, if you have a lot of outstanding debt, it gives you time to pay things off. So just, my whole thing, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, is sometimes the answer is not no. It might just be, it's not right now. Right now is not a good time, but I'll tell you what steps you need to take to get to where you need to be.
So I think I've mentioned my son's he's going to the Marines. And before I left, I'm actually in Nebraska. Hi from Nebraska again, everyone. Anyway, I'm actually in Nebraska here visiting my mom this week. But one of the conversations I had with him when I was getting ready to leave is he said, Mom, I really want to buy a house as quickly as I can. And what do I do? I go, you're going to talk to Carrie. That's what you're going to do because you're going to need credit and you haven't really started building your credit yet. You're going to need to talk to her about how you do that. You're going to need to, find out what things you can do with that credit and what not to do with that credit. So that way you don't mess yourself up. You're going to need to find out maybe how you can save some money and put money aside and what would be a good game plan for that. Maybe even talking to like a financial advisor might be a good thing, depending on what situation you're looking at. So, it's really seeking outside experts to get some of the answers that you want to get yourself set up.
Yeah. An interesting thing about service members is most branches have it to where if you are an E4 and below, you cannot move out of the barracks until you are married. So your housing is provided for you. And that's a perfect opportunity for you to be putting money to the side.
Yep.
So just, a little tip.
Well, thank you. No, I've been just kind of telling talk to Carrie, get things set up, figure out what you want to do. So when you're ready. So, okay. All right. And know your credit score. All kind of the basic stuff that you do that we've been talking about with first-time home buyers, like know your credit score. If you're, ready to go and you pretty much have everything in place, make sure you're getting pre-approved, checking out those different programs. I know Kitsap County had a couple, I was kind of doing some extra research on the side and I saw Kitsap County might've had some extra kind of help with home ownership too.
Yeah. Community Frameworks, they offer a 20% down payment for income qualified families.
Okay. So there's right. And there are things out there. So definitely, reach out and do some research because there are programs out there to help. And sometimes you just go, I don't even know how. It's just like, it's such a big amount of money. You're just like, I don't even know how. So future stuff. One of the other things, another topic that I've been having with friends and stuff like that is, I think if I was telling my kids like, hey, if I was going to start doing this, I realized one of my kids is kind of like in a home with this girlfriend already right now. And she bought the house and it's just kind of that's how it worked. But, like as far as my other kids buying a house, it might be like, hey, you know what, buy like a multifamily unit, like a duplex, because then you can live on one side and, rent out the other side to help kind of with that cost. And we've been looking at that a lot. With our family and stuff like that, as far as my kids coming up and, as an opportunity to get home ownership, to get some equity built up in the house, to have help, kind of paying for, depending on what the market rate is and getting you have to pay attention to all that information. But I think that's also a good way to do that. What do you think? What's your thoughts on that?
It's amazing because a few years ago, the state bond program actually opened up multifamily homes. If you have a duplex, you can actually use down payment assistance. So what a great way to be able to purchase a little bit more because you're able to use the other unit as qualifying income for your loan. They do a rent schedule when they order the appraisal, and then they'll count 75% of what that rent schedule is. So it's a great way to get your foot in the door and also start you with maybe having an investment property. Once you're ready to depart that residence, you can refinance it to a conventional loan and have, a kickstart on having some investment properties. So it's kind of
that'd be great because you can always move up into something else, use that equity and move up and buy your next house. And then you've got, so yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. So there's kind of creative ways you can do that. And I was going to ask you one other question, and now I just totally cannot remember what I was going to ask you. Anything else we're missing today? I think we covered it all, right? Oh, I know what I was going to say. Something about when you first go to get approved and stuff like that. Like I said, make sure you're getting your pre-approval. You have to do all the right things here. So make sure your credits, watch your credit, make sure you're getting your pre-approval. Make sure all those are set up in line first, because that's what you're going to need to do. So kind of the basic things. Right?
Yeah. And we just are kind of no muss, no fuss. We'll give it to you straight, and we're not going to pressure you or anything. We just love to be able to share information.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what I really appreciate about you, Carrie, just so you know. And like I said, my kids have various stages of their life and stuff have come up and said, Mom, I'm kind of thinking about this. What do I do? And I go talk to Carrie. And she's super kind. She's a mom. She's a military mom and wife. And so she's got a lot of experiences and stuff, and she can kind of talk to them and kind of come down to their level and say, this is where you're at. This is what you need to do. And I think it's very helpful for the kids to get that information, because at least it gives them something to kind of think about. So give her a call. And is your name on the next slide? Do we have a next slide and your name's on here? No, we don't today.
But I think
all right. You think it's where?
On the end credits that you have.
Oh, possibly. Okay. But if not, go ahead and give your number out, Carrie, because that way people can reach you. So this is Carrie's number. Okay.
360-930-1694. Or just my first name, Carrie, s@fairwaymc.com.
Okay. So make sure you reach out. I think she'd be a great first person to talk to if you're going to, look into getting a home ownership. Don't be afraid of it. Ask the questions. It's not as scary as it is. And everyone kind of has to start somewhere. The good thing is the prices are coming down a little bit. The rates I heard are supposed to start coming down next week, or not next week, sorry, but next month. It seems like it's already September here, but we're getting closer, and hopefully we'll see some positive changes and we get some more people in homes. And that's all I got for today.
Thank you.
Anything to add?
No, I think this was a good one.
All right, you guys, we will see you same time, same place next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.